Hey guys! Today we're going to be talking about the vav. The vav makes the v sound, like in vacuum. The Peshat level of understanding for this letter is that it has a numerical value of 6, and it means hook, Torah, rose, and man, which was created on the 6th day. The next level of understanding is the remez. If you look at the vav, doesn't it look a little bit like a hook? What is a hook? A hook is something that keeps two things together. It combines the past and the future. For example, when on a fishing rod, the hook connects the fish to the fishing line so you can reel it in. The vav holds two things together. Remember in the aleph example, the vav connects the two yuds to each other. See, it's like a hook. Vav is a letter that is in one of the names of God. Remember, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. We are also hooks, and the Torah is a hook too. And that is the Darash level of understanding for the vav. Now for the fourth level of understanding, the Sod level of understanding. In the Bible, it references angels that have 6 wings. 2 of their wings cover their eyes, right? 2 of their wings cover their feet, and 2 of their wings keep them in flight. Did you know that 600,000 men left from Egypt from slavery? That's just men, not women and children. And also, there are 600,000 Hebrew letters in the Torah. The Torah includes Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Okay? There are 600,000 Hebrew letters in those 5 books of the Bible. When we start to read the Torah, it kind of correlates with the days of creation. On the first day, light was created. When you start reading the Torah, light is shown in your life, and things that were in the dark are now in the light. And you're like, wow, this is good. On the second day, God separated the clouds from the water. And when you keep reading the Torah, for you, it's like separating good from evil. On the third day, God separated the land from the water, and he planted seed-bearing plants, like the seeds of them. When you keep reading the Torah, there's seeds planted in your heart in preparation for the 4th day. On the 4th day, when you keep reading the Torah, all the seeds that were planted in your heart begin to grow, and you have fruits of understanding. That was the day when the planets and the stars were created. And that's like when you want to have understanding of the planets and the stars, and of his biblical festivals and his appointed times. The sun and the moon and the stars tell us when his appointed festivals are going to begin. On the 5th day, people want to know more about what you're doing differently, and you tell them, I'm reading the Torah, that on the 5th day, the fishes and the birds were created, and there's so many different species that we're still trying to learn more about. On the 6th day, man was created, and all the land animals. And man was created to govern and to rule over the land animals, okay? On the 6th day is when you are the boss. You are the one in control of your feelings and emotions. For example, if you have a bad thought or a bad emotion, then you can say, I'm not going to think those thoughts. I'm not going to think of those emotions. I'm going to think this instead. I'm going to put the Torah on my mind instead of those bad thoughts. Why do we do this? Why do we think differently? It's because that we know that the divine lives within us, and we can't think of bad emotions or bad thoughts when he lives within us. Amen. Actually, you can think them, but you shouldn't dwell in them. You have control over your mind to say no.
Now we're going to teach you how to draw and paint the letter.
So to draw a vav, we're going to start with the vav on this side. So just look at this. You see how it's a part of the scroll? So wherever we end, vav is how long the scroll will be. So first we're going to start with the vav. We're going to start with this curved line, and we're going to end it here. Now just look at how, and you can see how the scroll is a part of the vav. So that's what we're going to try to do with our drawing. So we're going to start close to the grid lines because you see, if you picture grid lines right here, the bob is really close to where the grid lines would be. So we're going to start about the middle to the left. Just make a dot there. And we're not going to make a dot at the bottom because we still wanted to make it in the bob at an angle a little bit. So we're going to curve downward. I'll stop right about here. We're going to curve outward a little bit, and then we're going to curve down going parallel with the line we made previously. Okay, so that's our bob. So now we're just going to start making the scroll. So we're going to pretend that this is the scroll line. And right about here, you see how it starts curving away? We're going to continue the scroll. And just make a rectangle. We're making rectangles. And then we're just going to make like this orb, circle, sphere type of thing. Looks really cute. We're gonna keep following it. Keep going, and right about here, I'll make the orb here on the bottom too. This is supposed to be like the handlebar. So now we're gonna start with the other scroll on the other side. So we're gonna start maybe right about here, closest to the edge. Try lining it with this one. That wasn't so aligned, so we're gonna do it again. Just start going in an angle toward the right side of the paper. Start making my rectangle. We're going to try mirroring the same thickness of it. Going to make the straight line down. Now we're going to make the circles. Now all we need to do is finish the scroll linings, and we need to do the background line. So we're going to start right about here. We're going to try curving upward, and on the bottom one we're going to curve upward as well. So, and try landing about in the same spot where you started. On the bottom line, we're going to estimate where, there's this much spacing, then the scroll. So we're going to try doing this much spacing, and then the scroll. We're going to curve upward still. Now all we need to do is a background line. So it's 2020 still, and we've been home a lot. We've had lots of time. We homeschool. My sister and I homeschool, so we're still doing school and all. Like schoolwork though. Some kids are doing their school online now. Still. They're even thinking about not even starting school again. That's terrible. They're thinking about just keeping it online. So, but it's good to have this time to think and process what's happening in the world. It's also good to get a break because most things have been closed down, or temporarily closed. So it's a good, so you have lots of time on your hands when we're at the house. So it's good to think, process what's happening in the world and stuff. Yeah. A little bit of encouragement. So that's how you draw the Vav.
To paint the Vav, this is what we're going to do. We are going to paint the background of the blue sky first, then the ground. After that, I'm going to paint the actual letter and the scroll around it. The colors I'm going to use today are Caribbean blue, which is like really light blue, nutmeg, it's like brown, warm buff, toasted marshmallow, apricot, classic caramel, and of course white. I'm going to start off by putting drops of blue paint all around my background for the sky and white paint as well. Now I'm going to take my number 8 angular brush and just paint. For the ground color, I'm going to combine apricot orange with warm buff to do this bottom ground. Now we are going to read to you Psalm 119, verses 41 through 48, which correlate with the Vav.
Verse 41 through 42 says, May your loving kindness come to me, Adonai, your salvation according to your word. So I may answer the one taunting me, for I trust in your word. This was the Peshat level, and it means physical.
Yes, he's saying, may your loving kindness come to me. This basically means when you physically read the word of God, the Bible, you learn to trust God. So the more you read the word, the more you're going to trust God. Because in the word, there are so many examples of people trusting God, like David and so many other people, especially David. David wrote this.
Yes, he wrote the Psalms, and this is from the Psalms, Psalm 119. Verses 43 through 44. Never snatch out of my mouth a word of truth, for I hope in your judgments. So I may always keep your Torah forever and ever. This is the Remez level of understanding, and it means the soul.
Yeah, verses 43 through 44, it's basically like, it says, so I may always keep your Torah. Where do the words of the Torah go? Where do you keep the Bible safe? You keep it in your heart. That's where it's supposed to go, and that's where it will be safe.
And that will help you learn to trust in God. Verses 45 through 46. And walk about in freedom. For I have sought your precepts. I will speak of your testimonies before kings and never be ashamed. This is the Derash level of understanding, and it means the Spirit.
Yes, it says, so where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. So when we have freedom, we don't have to be scared because we have the freedom to make mistakes. We have the freedom to improvise. We have the freedom to do whatever, right? So we don't have to be afraid.
The last two verses is verse 47 through 48. I delight in your mitzvot, which is commands, which I love. I reach out my hands for your mitzvot, which I love, and meditate on your decrees. This is the Sod level of understanding, and it means essence, the essence of God.
So basically, like, when you delight yourself in the Lord, He will give you the desires of your heart. And that's what we want, right? The desires of our heart. But in order to get to that point, we need to delight ourselves in the Lord. This is kind of like the Vav, right? If you read the Bible, you get hooked. That's the point. Vav, hook. So when you read the Bible and you delight in reading the Bible, which is basically like you're happy and you're not like mad or whatever, you delight in reading the Bible. You find joy when you read it. Then you'll have the desires of your heart. So we just finished reading Psalm 119 verses 41 to 48, which correlate with the Vav. I'm going to use my number 4 brush to paint in here, basically like the scroll part inside of here. And the colors I will be using for that are Toasted Marshmallow and Warm Buff. So we're back to the Vav here. My camera just went out of storage, and my whole video, I finished the video without it recording. So I'm just gonna go over a few things that I did so that you know. When the video ended, I just finished painting in this white part, this lighter part. When that was done, I just went over and painted the Vav. Make sure your Vav is done. I made sure it was brown, and the same color that I used for the Vav, I used for these top pieces here, like little end caps. Then I went ahead and used my mid dark brown. I used 3 kinds of browns here: really, really dark brown, light brown, a kind of orangey brown, and then medium brown. So I used my medium brown to do the borders here. I did that last, and right before I did the borders, I did the little scroll pieces here with my orange brown. Yeah, so it's relatively simple. I hope you guys enjoyed this drawing the Vav with me, and yeah, that's how you draw the Vav.
Today you learned about the 4 levels of understanding for the Vav and how it has a numerical value of 6 and how it means hook, Torah, rose, and man, which was created on the 6th day. You also learned on how a hook holds 2 things together, the past and the future. You also learned that the Vav holds 2 things together and how the Vav is in the name of God. Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. We are also a hook, and the Torah is a hook as well. You also learn about the angels in Revelation that say Kadosh, Kadosh, Holy, Holy, and how that they have 2 wings covering their eyes, 2 wings covering their feet, and 2 wings keeping them in flight. You also learn how 600,000 men left Egypt, not including women and children, and there are 600,000 Hebrew letters in the Torah, which include Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. We hope you enjoyed this video. Shalom!